At the end of May, Littleton welcomed our new town administrator, Nina Nazarian, and we are fortunate to have her here as my guest today. So welcome to Littleton, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much, Barbara. I'm so fortunate and thankful for this opportunity to address Littleton Common and the community at large and speak with you all about my background and my excitement in working for Littleton.
Good.
So I began my career in local government service after obtaining a degree in civil engineering from UMass Lowell. And I lived in that time for about 10 years, even before and after pursuing my degree in civil engineering in the Lowell area, and spent a lot of time in the Merrimack Valley. So I did a lot of traveling through and in between Littleton, so I became a little bit familiar with Littleton, but spent a lot of time realizing when I began working that I really enjoyed local government and really enjoyed local government service, because right out of receiving my bachelor's degree in civil engineering, I began working for municipalities. And about 2 years in, it occurred to me that, quite frankly, the best part of my job was the local government piece. And while I really enjoyed the engineering portion, it wasn't the top portion of it to me. And so I began pursuing my degree and my master's degree in public administration at Suffolk University, and completed that, and then moved on to be the assistant town administrator in Tingsboro, not too far away.
Right.
And then my recent position was in the town of Princeton, where I spent nearly 4 years as their town administrator.
Wow, so you're all set for us now.
I certainly hope so.
Well, you took on quite a job here, so how do you feel about that? And did you know all that when you came?
Yeah, I mean, Littleton has a lot of things going on, and a lot of areas where more work needs to be done to get matters over the finish line. And yeah, I think it was pretty clear to me. I think the screening committee that brought on the town administrator, and I'm sure through the Board of Selectmen, did a phenomenal job in providing some level of context to what it was that Littleton was facing. A number of their questions and the work that we had to do as applicants was very telling. One of the things that we talked about and did was space needs, and we had to write about space needs. And so there's a lot of there's a lot that I did know, and we did our own research as candidates, and so I learned about sewer and spoke with board members about housing. So there are distinct things that are clear to me that we have a lot of work to do on.
Oh, good. Well, it sounds like you jumped in on the job, so that's good. It's good to hear for a Littletonian. And, just like you say, they're in the middle of a lot of changes. But, I know you need a little more time, but what thoughts do you have on the biggest challenges here?
As I touched on, I would say some of the challenges include, how do we resolve the space needs issues in a manner that works financially.
Right.
And the sewer needs, and how that contributes to the revitalization of the common and the opportunities for Littleton as we work through some of those things, all knowing and being aware that the finances are a big part of that, and understanding how that's going to affect residents, and providing analysis and information to the residents as they consider their options and vote on these things.
Yeah.
And then, the housing need, especially in this area where there continues to be a demand and the cost of housing keeps rising.
Right.
those three issues in general stand out to me considerably.
Yeah, you'll probably get people coming in to ask you questions about that too, and what's being done, and so it sounds like you're paying attention, and yeah, and you're right. It's housing is a big problem here, and you have people who are for the sewer, who aren't for the sewer, because they're afraid that it will make us. They keep using Acton as an example. Oh, we don't want to be Acton. But I think that maybe they need a little more information, or what it can do.
I guess I'll have to learn more about the Acton example.
There's a few things at the Common that probably need to be looked at so that things can be done there that are for our benefit.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you'll be hearing about it, I'm sure. You're new yet, so they're waiting to grab you when you walk by. Be ready.
I'm ready.
But what can we do, as town citizens to help you?
I'm really glad we have that question here today, because it's really important that people are engaged in their community. Right. And, in getting involved and volunteering on a board and committee, or, even if it's a small time commitment that residents can provide to the town. There are boards and committees that don't meet very frequently, so getting your feet wet with something like that, if you haven't been involved in the past, is really important. Mm-hmm. We, as towns, inherently have a lot of vacancies on boards and committees, and the Board of Selectmen is currently going through a process of appointing through their annual appointments, as I'm sure you know. And so being involved on a board or committee, but if you can't be involved on a board or committee, I think certainly keeping informed of the different information that's going on, signing up for e-alerts, paying attention to town meeting warrants and town meeting agendas, even perhaps staying in touch with what's going on at the Board of Selectmen level. We, based on the nature of our function as the Town Administrator's Office and the Board of Selectmen, we do receive a number of residents' comments, complaints, accolades, whatever the case may be, and we welcome those things, because we don't know how we're doing or how things are moving along if we don't receive that information.
That's true.
And so as far as e-alerts are concerned, you'd get information on the Board of Selectmen agendas or other board or committee agendas. And then finally, you can always seek to either participate in the tax work-off program if you're of I think 60 or older. Yeah. And you could also always participate in other programs, and perhaps if you're unsure of how to participate, I'd be glad for anyone to come to my office or call our office. Yeah, right. And sometimes we can draw on people's skills in an informal volunteer capacity based on their background and experience. Right. And so I welcome those very much, and I have used those in the past, and it's been very helpful in my role. Sometimes we have resource constraints, and so I would recommend just staying involved. I know there are a number of people who attend town meetings, and those
Not enough.
Right. Those who follow it, and I commend those people, but I'm looking for those who are not involved to get involved. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes their reasoning is, it's too late to go. I want it earlier in the day, which is kind of a shame if I can't adjust a little bit for those people. But it seems like when there is a subject that is important to them, more people come out for that only, and then they leave. It's not fair to others who have issues and would like to have them, addressed by more people than the 3 they brought with them. Sure. And also retirees. I feel like my poor husband, when he retired, I pointed and said, you should belong on that one and that one and that one. And he did, and he got to the point where he said, Barbara, I want to retire. But people who are retired, this is a good thing to get involved in the town, especially if you're going to stand around talking about it. Sure. Don't stand around talking about it. Help to do something about it. There's always good and bad towards whatever, but it should be heard.
Right.
You know, sometimes maybe the ones that we feel aren't that important could bring out something else.
Right.
And so I like the idea that you're talking about the boards, because the only thing about them that I probably sometimes think should change, and that's the fact that some people join to be on a board, but they don't join to help that board. And why? Why do that? Why would you join if you don't intend to participate, come up with ideas, go to the meetings? It's hard to have meetings when a few people say, oh, tonight's a bad night.
Right.
No.
Well, and I think to our viewers who don't have as much background and information as perhaps you and I do in terms of how things operate, we are bound by, and a number of our boards and committees are bound by various laws. And those laws include having a quorum. And if you don't have the quorum on the board that you're serving on, it can be difficult for the members who are able to be present to actually continue to make headway with whatever subject that they're working towards.
Right, and then other people out there will say, well, they did nothing. That board did nothing. Well, they couldn't unless they, like you say, had a quorum and they could vote and get things done.
Right.
So what happens is that those chairs are empty. Now the meeting has to be rescheduled for the next month.
Sure.
So of course it's not going to get done.
But
So-
of course, all of this is to say, you know, if you don't fit into an ability to commit to something on a regular basis, perhaps volunteering in an informal capacity might be good, because I think you would agree that we welcome all volunteers.
Yeah.
And, you know, perhaps somebody might not think that they're able to provide the dedication and the commitment in the beginning. We're not saying you can't miss a meeting here or there, right?
Yeah.
But then perhaps you find that you can, and you're assisting in an informal capacity, and then perhaps in the future you assist in a formal capacity.
Right.
But
yeah, by going even or catching them on cable or going to the meetings and listening.
Right.
And especially if you think you're interested in that subject, but you don't want to be on the board.
right,
Excuse me. Anyway, I always say, because of managing the thrift shop all these years, I've always said I never refuse a volunteer. I don't care if they can come 2 times. I wouldn't refuse them, because actually if they come 2 times, they may like it and they'll want to come 10 times. So you can't refuse a volunteer. And, you know, Littleton has quite a few. We really do.
oh yeah. There's a number of boards and committees and areas where I haven't even figured out where there are pockets of volunteers, like you mentioned, the thrift shop. I mean, I had a assumption of that, having attended the Friends meeting and the COA meeting recently.
Yeah.
So I had you know, some level of knowledge on that. But
Right.
there are also volunteers outside of our community that are working for our community as well. And one thing I wanted to mention today that was so helpful to me is I had the opportunity to go to Loaves and Fishes this morning.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think my appeal to anyone in the community on this subject is, if you have any need whatsoever, you know, the Loaves and Fishes facility that I had the opportunity to visit today was beautiful. Newly renovated, and new in terms of its history as well, to some degree, because it wasn't purchased that long ago, as I understand it. And, you know, there was a participant today that spoke and did a very eloquent job. She's actually a visitor of the Loaves and Fishes pantry, and she spoke at the breakfast that they had. They had some light items for town officials, and we had the opportunity to go there. And it was just very, it was a great opportunity for me to understand what percentage of families in this area might be in need. It was a great opportunity for me to hear from them that often it's word of mouth that helps those in need get to Loaves and Fishes and actually accept the assistance, and hear from the individual who was a a user of the facility, that the staff and the people were always nice, and they treated, you know, her and her family with respect.
See.
And so if anyone out there, you know, one of the things that they asked us to think about is how we can help get their word out. And I thought that this was a great opportunity for me to add this piece of information to this
Yeah,
session.
we've done pieces on them here too.
You have.
Anytime that they need us, we're glad to do that.
Excellent.
And it's surprising how many people do need them.
Yeah.
And how many people don't want to go because they think that you'll find out that they're in need, which is too bad. So what?
Yeah.
You know, at least get there and feed your family.
Yeah, well, I'll put myself on showcase. As a small child, when my family and I immigrated to this country, we were on assistance. And in saying that to the participant that we were speaking with today, her comment to me was, I said, well, I don't know what things would be like if I didn't have that opportunity as a child. And she quickly said, you wouldn't be who you are today. And I thought, wow, that's a great way to synthesize how fortunate I was and the opportunities that came to me as a result. So,
Good.
yeah.
Well, that's a good one. So in the meantime, is there anything else that you'd like us to hear about?
Well, I continue to be interested in getting to know Littleton more and more. It's not something that happens overnight.
No.
And, you know, there's a lot of information that I need to not only read, that I need to learn, you know, by speaking with people, whether that's by attending meetings, going to opportunities in the community. So I hope that I'll have the opportunity to over time, get through learning about Littleton. And I'm sure I'll always be learning, but the initial first several months is going to be a lot of learning for me, and I look forward to learning that. I'm certainly thankful to the board for their opportunity to serve in Littleton, and I will say that the staff and the volunteers that I've met to date have been phenomenal and very helpful and warm, welcoming, and thank you for all of that. I really appreciate it.
A little bit has to do with your personality too. One of the things I've noticed, and I appreciate your personality. And we are looking forward to working with you, and we hope that you will feel part of this community as you stay here and look into what's going on.
Yes, I look forward to it. I already do feel very welcome. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for coming today. And so everybody out there, come on. Make Nina welcome. And come in and see her and talk to her if you need to, or join a committee, or come and watch them help Littleton grow and get the things we need.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. And you know, it's always helpful to me to schedule my time. And so if anyone would like to come in and meet with me, certainly you can drop by. I would also much appreciate it if we could schedule a time as well, because it helps me manage my schedule as I try to set priorities and deadlines.
Good.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Same here.